folks, and good morning. Yesterday, we received quite a lot of news in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. The 10th anniversary has officially begun, unofficially with Conquest. And Meathead basically dropped on us what I would liken to a Stephen King novel during his very popular cocaine era. Um, what is happening to this game right now is crazy. It is nuts. It is ridiculous. I have had no less than 2 dozen people in the last 12 hours reach out to me on Discord in one way or another just to say, hey, Daddy Egnards, help me out. Help me understand this update. Some of those people were in the first half hour as if I had possibly read this in advance. And I promise you, I did not. Those of us in the beta did not get this information early, or at least I didn't. I don't know. Maybe I was conspired against. We're going to go through the update. I'm going to try and truncate some of it, some of the wording, not necessarily read everything, or at least read everything really, really, really quickly and try to decipher for you what everything means based on my own multiple readings. So we're going to do that after the intro. So we have the title update and 10th anniversary announcement post, and I'm sure I'm going to make a lot of errors in this video. And by errors, I don't mean in deciphering, but I just mean in my wording. Normally when that happens, I just restart and I suck it up. But this is such a long one that I am not going 45 minutes and saying, screw it, start again. Or maybe I will. I don't know, and you won't know either. But let's get started. 10th title update and 10th anniversary announcement post, blah, 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 10 years ago, a decade. Now, I gloss over that, but 10 years in the mobile space is actually a huge deal. So bravo to CG and Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes for making it. It is very tough to convince new players to play a game that is this old. It is very tough to convince people who have been playing for 10 years to continue playing for 10 years. And we've made it. It is a crowning fundamentally crazy achievement, and with it are coming tons of changes to the game. So what's happening? Number one, eras. Last year we released eras, and with them we mentioned we released episodes, and with them we released the concept of eras. Basically 3 episodes per era, 6 marquee units. Really, they said 5 to 6. A journey guide event and associated unit at the end. Weekly episode quests, era challenges to test your marquee squads. That we've been doing for about a year. Periodically, we've had a non-standard era that may only last for 1 episode, or that may not have a journey guide event. So that was like the Bad Batch event in the beginning, and also the non-standard era that we have now, which is really just 2 episodes, and that was the 2 ships that we got, as well as the bounty hunters. As part of the change, we are expanding episode quests to all players over level 10. Players who are below level 85 will receive a standard set of introductory episode quests, and players at level 85 will receive the bespoke set of episode quests for that particular episode. Additionally, character quests will become available for all players at level 20, which is the same level that unlocks marquee events. Now, this fancy little graphic here shows off some new units who will be coming to the game that many people are very, very, very excited for, but we are going to talk about that later. So we're going to throw that off for right now. Era isolation is something that is going to be happening with eras coming up. Eras will be isolated from the rest of the game, which we're referring to as legacy content. During the era in which Marquee and Journey Guide units are released, both the Journey Guide and Marquee units will be considered an era unit. When an era ends, all current era units will become legacy units. When the next era begins, the newest Marquee and Journey Guide units released during the new era will be considered era units for its duration. Right, and we kind of see that what that's going to look like here with the 6 units who are going to be released in the next era. The important distinction is era units can only be used in era modes and will not be allowed in legacy modes. Era units only use era resources for progression, while legacy units will continue to use existing materials and recipes for upgrades, and legacy units cannot be used in era modes or be upgraded with era materials. The isolation is primarily to allow players to progress in both the latest content and grow their rosters without having to choose where to put their resources. Okay, so we're going to see through here. Era Guide will work a little differently than the Journey Guide. The Era Junior unit will start in week 9 of an era, which is when the 5th out of the 6th marquee is released. Era Journey Guide units will be available at 4 stars, which is very different from how Journey Guides are currently released, to allow players to use them early during the era. Tier 1 will require the first 5 marquees. Now, this is I think there's a typo in here. It says will require the first 5 marquees at 4 at era level 45 and will unlock the Journey Guide unit at 4 stars. I'm not sure if that means all 5 units will need to be at era level 45 or only 4 out of the 5 units will need to be at era level 45. I would like some clarity on that typo, but we will kind of find that out in the near future. The 5th Era Journey Guide unit will require 5 marquee units at 5, and then the 6-star and 7-star version will require all 6 marquees at 6-star and 7-star respectively. A significant amount of time after the era, the Journey Guide unit will become a legacy event, but will have different requirements as the marquee will no longer be era units. Right, we're still getting through this era stuff. Era leveling is going to be very different. For era leveling, we're getting a simplified version of leveling up characters specifically for the era. This is not going to legacy, and once these characters do become legacy, it is going to go back to the old gearing system. This is just to make your life easier during the era. So it looks like here with Stormtrooper Luke as an example, you move to level 5, your abilities get upgraded. You move to level 6, your stats get upgraded. You move to level 7, your stats get upgraded. There's no modding, there's no Zetas, there's no Omicrons. There's just, hey, you move through the levels using your era currency. Era levels are a linear progression path. That's what we just talked about. Unit stars is another way to power up your era unit and are required to upgrade era levels beyond certain levels. So 4-star is required for level 66 plus, 5-star is required for level 76 plus, 6-star is required for level 86 plus, and 7-star is required for level 91 plus. No, this does not mean that your characters will be level 95 in legacy content. That is staying at level 85. This is just because it is a simplified leveling system. Players will need a variety of era materials to upgrade a unit's era level. This can be earned from participating in the era through Coliseum, era marquee events, era journey events, and episode track milestones, or purchased from the store. When era units become legacy units at the end, their era level will convert into character level, gear tier, relic level, and ability level associated with that era level. Any era materials and era currencies will be converted into legacy material at the end. The specifics of the new economy are still being finalized. But basically what they're looking at is that era level 65, and notice 4-star level 66 is the first tiering that we just saw before. But the conversion rate seems to be about era level 65, which is where they expect free-to-play players to get, will convert into level 85, gear 12, and ability level 7, right? So if you are free-to-play, it seems like at the end of an era, you can expect to have a level 85 character with gear 12 and ability level 7. Not bad. Now, I'm assuming the star levels are going to stay consistent to what they are now, and I can only assume that these star levels are still going to be paid for. I don't know that. It isn't said here, but I imagine that that's what those era marquee battles are going to be about, so that starring your characters is still going to be important. If you are a spender, you are going to get these characters to 7 stars to get your journey character. If you're not a spender, you're going to sit around that 3 to 5 star mark, depending. What is happening to era battles? I have no idea if we're still going to be getting those free shards over time, or how those shards will continue to support players who are not spending the same amount of money. Okay, so what does all of that mean? Basically, that means that when an era releases, you're going to get a bunch of characters that are isolated from the rest of the game, right? And you're going to use them within their own system. And that means that they won't be usable in GAC, they won't be usable in the raid, they won't be usable in TB for the duration of an era. They will only be usable in the era content. The next thing we're going to talk about is going to be the flagship of that era content, which is Coliseum, but we're going to hold off on that for just a second. I don't necessarily think this is a good or a bad change. It's a confusing change to me because I have a strong feeling that players may feel de-incentivized to when they can't use their new shiny toy in GAC right away. Now, I could be wrong there because I don't know what Coliseum necessarily looks like, but it does mean that when new characters come to the game, players who are not spending a lot of money aren't necessarily going to have to worry about them in their the game modes that they're used to right away. It does, however, mean that when an era is over, all of those new units are going to come to the game roughly at the same time, and they're going to be thrown in your face. I don't think that this is a negative change. It's just one where we don't have all of the information yet. Now, the nice thing is that these characters are going to use their own leveling system, and that's going to convert. And that basically means that players who maybe are more crunched for gear, they're not going to have to spend gear on new characters, especially if what they're saying about level 65 and that roughly translating to gear level 12, players will be able to upgrade their rosters and build out their old rosters while doing this completely independent of that. Now we go on to the Coliseum game mode, where we see this big old troll boy fighting against the 5 characters, or at least 5 of the characters who are in the new era. Coliseum is a new game mode and the first era mode to be added to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Unlocking at player 10, level 10, this game mode pits individual players against formidable foes from the Star Wars universe. Bosses will rotate daily, with players attempting to achieve new high scores each day. This high score will earn rewards in 2 ways: one-time rewards for reaching certain score milestones that reset each era, and daily leaderboard rewards competing against other players at high scores for the day. The Coliseum leaderboard is one of the primary places to earn Relic 10 material, which we will find out more about below. To support leaderboard, players will be randomly assigned to new era shards. These are similar to the shards we already have, but completely separate. An era shard is not tied to player's squad or fleet arena shard and will not affect either of those things in any way. Players will be randomly assigned to new shards each era, giving everyone an opportunity to prove their mettle against a variety of opponents. So what this basically means is that we are going to have this new era challenge mode against bosses. We don't know how the scoring is going to work, but your shard, we don't know how big that shard is. It could be 1,000 players, 500 players. We don't know. It is completely random, which means that if you are a free-to-play player, you might get luck out and you might get into a shard where that has all other free-to-play players, but you've been playing for longer and you know how to play and you're just able to kick ass. Or you could be in a shard that has 50 super mega ultra whales and everybody else is free to play and those free to play players are kind of screwed. It's going to be a case to case basis. I know some people on Discord are talking about shard mafias. I don't think that that's going to work here because we're talking about daily rewards and it's basically going to be clawing your way to the top. Whether you need to stay there, I don't think so. This sounds more like a max score challenge rather than a stay at the top challenge. I don't hate it, but I'm really going to have to see what it looks like. And I feel like we're going to need more than one era to decide whether this is good or not. Because again, I might get really lucky in that first era and I am pitted up against players who have no idea what they're doing. And I hit number 1 every time. Or I might be pitted up against the same players that I support on a daily basis who spend way more money in a month than I make in a year. And I'm just not able to compete. So I'm hoping that there are some checks and balances in there to kind of balance out the shards in some sort of way, but I have a feeling that that is not the case. We'll have to see, right? The game mode itself does sound kind of interesting, but it is another time sink added to the game. Era challenges. Era challenges are another place to use era units in this release. These will be replacing galactic challenges in an effort to help manage how much time players spend completing their daily tasks. The difficulty tiers are balanced around having era units and squads at certain era levels, and the feats reward those appropriately. So basically, we're going to get galactic challenges that are based entirely on the era itself, and one is replacing the other in terms of time. But I am a little bit concerned about this because with the community update, CG actually heavily de-incentivized the time needed for galactic challenges. They kind of dumbed them down to a point where myself, you didn't really need them to hit level 50 on the pass as long as you did one or two battles. And that's kind of what I did, right? I would do my one battle, I'd get my faction feat. Maybe I'd do the other one if it was easy, but most of the time I wouldn't bother. This sounds like something that I am going to have to invest time in. And while I do believe that their heart was in the right place by saying, hey, we are going to take away this one thing and add this other thing in so that your time stays relatively balanced, I feel like they're taking away a 2-minute chore from every 2 days and giving me one that is going to take a little bit more. However, they will be available during weeks between marquee releases, and players will have the full week to complete them. So hopefully, I am wrong in that regard, and this does not become a time sink. This is an interesting one that I know I got really heated on yesterday. Time in game. Time needed to complete all the events and modes daily is an important topic to discuss as part of all of these changes. With the addition of Coliseum and managing an era roster on top of your existing roster, it is critical that we ensure that time spent in game daily doesn't increase significantly, and I hate that word significantly. We designed the system and the scale of eras something far more manageable. For this release, Coliseum is a huge focus, but we are careful to ensure that only a few battles a day are needed to complete most of the era content and advance up the leaderboard. Your score for each Coliseum boss is a high watermark that persists over the era, which means once you achieve your best score, you don't need to keep battling over and over again that day. A new type of event is Era Challenges, which replaces Galactic Challenges every other week. Players have 7 days to complete them. Lastly, we wanted to reduce some time spent in conquest and territory battles. For players who are over-invested in squads needed for the zone, Relic Delta will make those battles faster and need less micromanaging during the encounters. In the future, we will continue to examine which modes should be supplanted by the era system and which are the important drivers of your legacy roster. Now, I don't like this. This really frustrates me a lot. I spend a lot of time in game, and if you are listening to this video, you probably also spend a lot of time in game. Why? Because you are also addicted, right? And you do TB and you do TW and you do GAC and you do all of your challenges every day, and it takes forever on some days. You do Conquest. On Hell Week, you could be spending like 3 hours in game. And I feel like the Relic Delta increase here is frustrating because when we talk about the times in TB where the most amount of time is spent, we're talking about days like day 3 or most especially day 4, which is for many players the 5-planet day. And the 5-planet day sucks. And that 5-planet day is primarily Relic 8, Relic 7, and Relic 8 battles. Relic Delta is not going to fundamentally speed up those battles because in PvP, Relic Delta has been shifted and balanced in a way where Relic Delta 1 and 2 do not primarily affect things in any fundamental or significant way. Now, I understand that Relic 10 is coming to the game with this update, and I could choose to Relic 10 some of my characters to supplant this, but the problem is that that is going to be a premium currency that we are not getting a lot of, especially if you are not spending tons and tons of money, which means that you are trading giving me another chore I have to do in my day, not taking away the time that I need at all, and you are saying, hey, if you're a good little boy and you spend a lot of money, maybe we'll reduce your hour a day on TB to 55 minutes a day. And that is really, really, really frustrating. I have advocated for having two sets of Relic Delta numbers, and that is to say that there would be PvE numbers and PvP numbers, because the PvE numbers do not need to correlate and they do not need to be balanced. And that is to say that a Relic Delta of 1 might give you like 30% more damage in TB and raid only, right? Just to speed this up a little bit. And Relic Delta of 2 might give you like 60% more damage, just to speed this up a bit. And I don't like to give Fat Phil credit, but we were talking last night, and he had even suggested taking away the relic requirement on each battle in TB in such a way that if we had PvP numbers, you can even increase the detrimental damage taken at a negative relic delta. So as an example, if I were to take a relic 4 Chupio and well, I guess it's just Chupio, a relic 4 Chupio onto Ring of Kafrene, which is a relic 9 planet, to help support the rest of my team with that stat sharing. Chupio would take, I don't know, 200% more damage and get destroyed and deleted right away. But I could still use him, right? And in some cases, that might be the thing you want to do, but it would make it more interesting. And it would also allow players to experiment with their teams more and try different battles, even supporting at a Relic Delta of 1 or a Relic Delta of 2. I just feel like the time spent in game is not going to fundamentally change in a positive way, and it is really frustrating to me as someone who works 2 jobs, and even people who work 1 job and they have kids, they have families, they have other things going on in their lives. I just don't think that the time invested in game is going to reduce at all. Now we are moving on. We are going to see the Cantina itself updating, so that hard node and light side and dark side are going to shift into the Cantina for Cantina battles, and that's probably going to look like the Galactic Battles and Arena table, where you click on it and then it brings you up another menu. That way, the era content for era challenges and for the big bad boss in Coliseum, those can be front and center. Cool. You know, it's an interesting change to the way the game looks, but it doesn't actually change anything. So is it worth talking about right this second? I don't think so, but it's neat. It changes things up just a little bit. Future seasonal content. Oftentimes, players will be building 2 or 3 squads out of marquee and journey guide units they unlock during an era, and we want to support player agency in developing those squads. Early next year, we plan to release what we're calling loaned units, a system where players will temporarily be granted a variety of additional era units based on legacy units for those era modes. Loaned units will not require direct investment to increase their power, and they will go away at the end of an era. Until then, we're utilizing summoned units within Coliseum to provide a better and more well-rounded combat experience. So essentially, when we go into Coliseum, you know, instead of using these 6 characters who have nothing to do with each other, we are hopefully going to have summoned units that give us a more cohesive squad, so that we can kind of learn to use the squad the way that they're intended to be used, which is nice. And sometime next year, they're going to give us loaned units that we can use in all of the different era modes. We recognize that there are players who want to duke it out in direct PvP rather than to fight the bosses. With that in mind, we want to bring a PvP mode to eras in the future. For this to be compelling, we want it and need it to be supported by loaned units. However, for era PvP mode can be complicated, and they introduce a wide variety in player experience and competitive viability based on random rolls. This is all corporate speak, doesn't matter. We should note this is not the end of legacy content, as the era system works in conjunction with. I beg of you, CG, please do not give me era PvP. Please, who are these people saying that they want era PvP? I don't know who they are. I will slap them. This is just more time spent in game, and unless you are giving me my entire roster worth of characters, it is just going to devolve into people using the same characters, right? You have your 6 marquees, and you're going to say, hey, we have found the way to min max this as easily as possible. These are the 6 squads you're going to use, or 5 squads, or 8. I'm begging of you, CG, please do not do this. It is not going to be fun. It is not going to be interesting past the first week. Please, please, please reconsider era PvP. I will reserve judgment because it is not here yet, but I really do not see anything positive about adding another PvP mode. You want another PvP mode? Fix TW so that we don't hate ourselves when we play it, because the rewards suck, the mode sucks, it takes up tons of our time, and we are already on call like a doctor in residency. Legacy changes. Marquee cadence is changing. A long time ago, we established a cadence for marquee units. We've added a cadence and introduced new versions of marquee events. With the introduction of eras, we are evolving marquees to the next stage. Players will be granted all of the marquees from an era the first day they log in during that era. These units will not be accessible for upgrades or battle use until their individual marquee event starts, but they will exist in your roster. So it doesn't really change anything, right? Because we just get to like spin them around and check out their butt. Chupio and Yoda. This way, all players will have access to the same marquee units at the same time, even if a particular marquee event is missed during an era. All right, so that makes sense. You get all 6 units. Maybe you're not online for a week when that character releases. You'll still get to use them afterwards. You just won't have upgraded them during their marquee week. You'll still want to play the marquee while it's active to earn more shards. I am begging you, CG. One of the reasons that I do not spend as much money on these new characters and new marquees, I hate the idea of doing all of those battles every single day for these characters. Give me a sim button. The battles are not interesting. Once you have done the battle once, that is all I need. Let me hit sim after that to get my rewards. I will be happy. I will spend more money. I promise you. Don't make me go into a battle. God, don't make me go into a battle and say, all right, well, I got this 4 loam guy and he's the only guy in battle and I have to kill 5 guys and I'm just going to hit auto. It takes me 5 minutes. I hate it. The other notable change to marquee units is when they transition to shipments, nodes, and accelerated units. Marquee shards will be available in shipments approximately the 2nd week after their release era ends and they become legacy characters. Marquee character shards will be farmable on a node approximately 13 weeks after the marquee event. So that is interesting. They will be shipment farmable week 2, and normally about a month later, so 4 weeks is when they become farmable after 4 weeks before shipments, 4 weeks before farmable. Now we're saying 2 weeks before shipment, 13 weeks before marquee, before farmable. That's a little bit rough, but you will already have the character kind of supplemented and hopefully start up a little bit, so maybe the change is not that bad. Marquee character shards will become accelerated around the 1 year after the start of the release of their era, even if this would mean an individual character may become accelerated earlier than a year after their marquee event. This is also when marquee units are eligible for Lightspeed tokens, as a change from our earlier plan of having them eligible 1 year after the end of an era. Okay, so that's kind of nice. Now, this next part is my bread and butter. This is where shit gets wild. This is where I am happy. Relic economy changes. As part of the major Eras update, there will be a number of changes to the Relic economy. Eras created a path for players to reach the highest tiers of relics if they want to invest deeper into their squads. Relics are also a critical part of the rewards for the era, and there are 3 ways we are improving the relic experience. We are reducing the pinch of gear and relic materials, we are increasing the inflow of relic resources to the majority of players, and we are improving the access to relics. So, step 1. The first way they're reducing the relic pressure on your roster is through the changes to eras. Eras significantly change how players interact with legacy units progression, as era levels provide a head start on new units when they convert at the end of an era. This reduces the amount of gear needed for new units and instead can be used as the scavenger to obtain the relic materials you need. And that's great for me. I don't know how great that is going to be for characters in the newer game, but that will remain to be seen. Outside of the newest units, era rewards will also impact many older journeys. Lightspeed tokens are rewarded from engaging or investing in the era and can be used on legacy units to accelerate access to squads and journey guide events. Again, this reduces the amount of gear you need to get journey guide requirements up to speed and freeing up gear to be used elsewhere. Our goal for eras is to be an efficient way to acquire journey guide units and power up your roster. Additionally, to alleviate some pressure on relic materials for Relic 8, we are removing fragmented signal data, chromium transistors, and erodium heat sinks from the Relic 9 recipe. Wonderful. Like, oh my god. Chromium transistors, I have 400,000 of them, right? Because you can get them in the guild shop with the Blast Tack Weapons 7, super, super easy. So that is like, I don't know, giving me a quarter for my $10 Happy Meal. Erodium heat sinks, maybe there is some crunch there, but not necessarily at the later game. And fragmented signal data is the first one, the gray one. So, okay, that is nice to some degree. It is going to stop things to some degree, but chromium transistors are in such abundance that I feel like this is not an issue at Relic 9, and I was hoping for a little bit more there. All of these changes combined allow you to use less gear for upgrading units. Increasing the amount of relic material inflow. While reducing the number of places you need gear, it is important to get more relic material into players' inventories. Relic 1 to 5 materials and tier 1 to 3 signal data will be replacing existing GC salvage boxes on the free episode track milestone. So we'll be getting more relics from the free episode track milestones. Players engaging daily in eras will still be able to complete the episode track, and we expect most players to be able to earn these resources monthly. On top of that, we are updating episode shipments to include items like signal data, fragmented and incomplete, so players can use their extra episode currency to also boost their relic farms. Now, if you're a free-to-play player, you generally do not have a lot of extra episode currency at the end of an episode, but if you are buying the episode pass, which is a very high value, I generally end up with so much extra episode currency that this is actually a super positive change for about $20 a month. Now, will it be a super positive change for free to play? I don't think as much, but it will allow you to shift what you're using things on based on what you need, and maybe it will. New access to relics, more resources, and less pressure. We are going to have new relic material recipes for arrow magnifiers. You can deconstruct your shock prods for arrow magnifiers. You can deconstruct tactical, we're not going to go over the shock prods, battle computers for arrow magnifiers and for droid brains, right? And some other stuff as well at the G12, but essentially those of us have 3,000 of every chirotech. This is a really nice change for us to be able to put it all into droid brains, not arrow magnifiers, droid brains. So super cool there. I might see more of a chirotech crunch later on, but I don't even care. I think it's completely worth it. New relic signal data recipe, corrupted signal data. This is another one that frustrates me. When CG first released their fireside chat and they talked about the signal data update, they essentially said, to paraphrase, that they would be releasing this new signal data in a way that did not interrupt your current signal data inflow. And technically this is correct because you are still going to be doing those battles on Cantina, but you are going to be using those battles on Cantina in order to support this new corrupted signal data. So I feel like there is a huge impact there that they kind of buried the lead on. And while they technically didn't lie, I do think it is a lie by omission. And I'm really frustrated by this change. I will, however, say that because there are going to be a lot of increases in how we get signal data, that maybe the change is not as bad as it sounds. But right now I'm sitting here and going, oh, I'm going to need like 30 of this signal data and I'm going to have to spend hundreds of my other signal data to get it. I am going to feel a huge pressure. So I do not necessarily like this for Relic 10, but let's be real. I'm not going to be getting any Relic 10s in the near future, except for Jar Jar Binks. In addition to the scavenger, raid shipments have been updated. Electrium conductors and Zimbittles are being changed from MK3 to MK2. This is a nice change. It's going to allow me to use my MK3 primarily on arrow magnifiers and beyond. I use my MK2 right now on G12 gear pretty randomly at the top end. Anything that is below 500 I spend it on. So this will be nice to be able to do that directly. Carbonate circuit boards, bronzium wiring, chromium transistors, and erodium heat sinks are being changed from MK2 to MK1 with the costs reduced, and we get tons of MK1, and I cannot stress enough how much I literally just randomly spend my MK1 because I have no use for it. So again, this is a super positive change that I am very, very excited for. Updated rarity requirements. This one is also interesting. Relic 4 now requires 5 stars instead of 6 stars. Relic 5 now requires 6 stars from 7 stars, and Relic 6 is now the first Relic Amplifier level that requires 7 stars. This is going to change GL farming for a lot of players, because a lot of GL farming is at the 5-star level, right? If you think about like marquees for anything before Leia, getting Jabba is going to be a lot easier for many people. Even getting Hondo with some of their Relic 5 requirements, it's going to be a lot easier for some people. I am here for it. Hopefully this is going to allow us now to say, hey, you know what? My character's not 7-star yet, but I can try them out in TB, which is kind of cool. While we lift the floor on relics for many players, we also want to raise the ceiling with the introduction of Relic 10. They want us to spend money, and that's fine. They're a business. I get it. Relic 10 will be most valuable for players competing at high end of Grand Arena Championship and Territory Wars. Hopefully they're changing those Territory War rewards because they suck right now and nobody cares. While new units, especially now that we can get droid brains from other ways other than sandbagging things. While new units and content are exciting for most players, the competition at the top end of PvP is what drives excitement the most, increasing the accessibility of Relic 9, blah, blah, blah. Wonderful. Going on to Relic Delta, we seem to have our final numbers that look very similar to update number 5. At the top end, Relic Delta 5 negative, you're going to see a 60% damage modifier, a negative damage modifier, and at the top end, we're still seeing that 150% damage modifier. Again, I think that those Relic Delta numbers at Relic 5 are a little too high, and it needs to come down to 100%. I tried, guys. I fought for it. I really, really, really fought. I am sure CG Refrigerator is mad at me at this point. But we got this system to a point where, honestly, I do think most people are not really going to feel the system right now, especially with the Relic economy changes shifting the goalpost to about Relic 7, Relic 6, Relic 7. You're not going to see many battles outside of that RD3 point right now, as long as you're willing to invest in your roster. If you are not willing to invest in your roster, then I don't know what to tell you, right? The system will not be active in Conquest during the Stranger arc. For the Conquest arc after the Stranger, we are working on changes to improve quality of life and ease pain points so that Relic Delta on the Conquest experience is purely positive. So we don't have any idea what that is going to be yet, but we at least know that they are working on it. And I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt here, because if they can turn it off for the Stranger's Conquest, that means if they are not ready in the next Conquest, they can continue to keep it off. And we're just going to have to monitor this change. Blah, blah, blah. We know this was difficult. Blah, blah, blah. Fireside chat. Okay, wonderful. Don't care. Not important for right now. Episode track update. The release also contains a number of changes to the episode track. With the release of era levels, a variety of era materials will be added to the episode track. The Pass and the Pass Plus will contain even more era materials to accelerate your marquees. So if you are somebody that is spending $20 a month, you are going to see some interesting increases in your eras. And that's kind of nice, because this sounds like a free extra change for the people who are already spending that $20. And they probably have me locked in for $20 every month for the rest of my life. Additionally, Relic 1 to 5 materials and Tier 1 to 3 signal data will replace gear on the free episode track. Overall, this adds more value to the track, the pass, and the pass plus, while the prices will stay the same. Galactic Challenge and points. Here's the deal with Galactic Challenge points. They are shifting the way that they work. We're not going to fully get into how this works, but essentially they are taking galactic challenges out of the game and they are migrating all of those points to episode track and daily rewards, right? So the free episode quests are now going to reward 5,000 instead of 2,000. The chapter headline quest will reward 11,000 up from 8,000. And the pass quests that require the episode pass will increase to 7,000 from 4,000. All of this is to say that with the disappearing of galactic challenges, as long as you are doing the episode quests, and they're easy, they're super easy, they should be easy for everybody at this point, you should still be hitting that level 50 on the episode track for free. You might even hit it more now for free because you're not worried about specific teams. There's also a new daily quest for playing the Coliseum, making 8 total individual daily quest rewards. That's wonderful. Daily quests are reducing to 300 down from 350. However, overall, if you do all of your dailies, you should see an increase of 50 episode points per day. Okay, cool. I like that they're transparent there. I remember the community update. People hated it because they didn't understand it. I had to release 100 videos on it. So I'm happy they've learned and they've kind of made us understand here that the change and the disappearing of galactic challenges is not going to cause issues for players. Lightspeed tokens have tiers. Oh, nice. Future Lightspeed tokens will have tiers updated to better match current character power levels. These consumables instantly upgrade characters. So the bottom level tier of Lightspeed tokens are now going to be Gear 12, ability level 3. The Tier 3, which is the tier that you get for the episode pass, right? If you purchase the episode pass, is up to Relic 3, ability level 5, up from Relic 1, which is nice. And the paid for $15 to $20 one is now Relic 6, ability 7. So it's just nice that they're upping this a little bit to give a little bit more free stuff to players who are able to, free stuff to players who are able to spend. They're able to give more value to those players, which is nice. The anniversary era is the era that is coming up. This is basically taking characters that were released in the beginning of the game, right? So characters that released with the game and giving them a new style. Instead of Farm Boy Luke, we are now getting Stormtrooper Luke. Ig 88, we now get Ig 90. Clone Wars Chewie is now Yoda and Chewie. Asajj Ventress, we are getting Dark Disciple, Bounty Hunter Asajj Ventress, Inquisitor Barriss from Barriss Ophrey, blah, blah, blah. Darth Vader Duel's End. We are getting a new Darth Vader. This is cool, right? We're not going to go over all of the squads. The characters look super, super, super neat. I do like here that they have kind of, well, I guess we do need to go over it now that I'm talking about it, that they have kind of explained where they're trying to position these characters, right? So Stormtrooper Luke will be going with Princess Leia and Stormtrooper Han to give us like an interesting squad. Ig 90 is supposed to be a Dr. Aphra tank, so maybe she'll be worth farming. Yoda and Chewie will be added to a Tarful squad, and my Tarful is Relic 9, so I guess I lucked out there. Asajj Ventress will make Scion not completely useless. Inquisitor Barriss will have some unaligned Force user synergy, as well as Inquisitor 3v3 synergy. Darth Vader is going to be basically our new Papa Palpa Mara Jade squad. So this is cool. And some of these are going to be endgame squads, and some of them are not going to be endgame squads. If Stormtrooper Luke is going with Princess Leia and Stormtrooper Han and R2-D2 and Old Ben, I'm probably not going to be using him. Not everything is for me, right? There are players in the mid-game, the beginning game, that this is going to be super fun for. Plus, all of the character art looks really, really nice. We can kind of scroll up. We can, yeah, it's not down here. We can scroll up. We can take a look. These guys look pretty, right? Like, cool. Yoda and Chewie, it's going to be a whole new video series on what other characters can we put on Chewbacca's back. And I'm there for it. And Moonborn, just you wait, because I am going to be bothering you a lot about that. Bearing the lead here, we are getting Spider Maul. Spider Maul does whatever a Spider Maul does as our journey guide character here. Who is he for? I don't know. Rebuilding his broken body. Former Sith apprentice Maul will seek out there you go, a stranger to give him new purpose and lead him into battle. So listen, it says a stranger, not the stranger, but it sounds like that new marquee is a lie, and it's actually this journey guide character. I'm assuming the stranger doesn't necessarily need Maul, but it is going to make that squad literally insane. Now, the nice thing that I am liking about this, however, is that it does seem like if you are free to play, you will still be able to unlock this character at 4 stars. You know, you won't be able to bring him up to the high levels like most players who spend money will be able to, but you'll still be able to kind of play with the journey and unlock the character, or at least that's what it feels like is going to happen. Era Journey event will now begin with the 5th marquee instead of the 6th marquee at the end. This will allow you to unlock the Era Journey Guide at 4 stars and get enough shards to get to 5 stars. When the final Era Marquee unit releases, you can then play the last tiers of the Journey event if you have spent enough money. Our Coliseum bosses, the Dryax, the Jotaz, the Pirate ATST, and the Zepho Tomb Guardians. Cool. We saw the art up there. Very nice. 10th anniversary quest celebration. This is cool. This is really cool. We are going to start to see some new quests over the next 6 months added to our journeys. And all that is to say that they are going to give specific Lightspeed tokens to players. Now, those Lightspeed tokens, they're useless to me, right? But not everything is about me. However, you're also getting Zeta and Omicron materials. So this first one that starts on 11/18, you're going to get a Hera Syndulla and a Sabine Wren Lightspeed token. If you're a new player, that is awesome for you. It is going to jumpstart you. If you're not a new player, you are getting Zeta materials and Omicron materials on top of that anyway. We are going all the way down. Ezra Bridger, Chopper, Captain Rex, a random Rebel Lightspeed token, an Emperor Palpatine Lightspeed token. Requires completing final quest and chain to unlock Palpatine. That doesn't... Oh, I guess just... So you have to unlock Palpatine, but you'll be able to upgrade him for free. That's kind of cool. Ahsoka Tano, Jedi Knight Anakin, Mace Windu, Shakti, Keller and Beck, a Jedi Lightspeed token, a Grandmaster Yoda Lightspeed token, 8th brother, 9th sister, 5th brother, 7th sister, 2nd sister, Empire, R2-D2, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan, Stormtrooper Han, Admiral Akbar, droids, Commander Luke Skywalker, Boba Fett, Bosk, Ig-88, Dengar, Fennec, Bounty Hunter, Chewbacca, The Mandalorian, Cara Dune, Ig-11, Queel, Grief Karga, The Mandalorian, Mandalorians. All that is to say that players in the mid game, you guys should be pumped. Players at the end game, it is Omicrons, it is Zetas. I'm super, super excited about that. Right? This is awesome. There's a lot of great stuff. Pillars of seasonality. The goal here is basically they want everybody to have fun. This I don't think is important for right now. Pillar 2 is focus on the fun. Wonderful. Tell a Star Wars story. Great. This is all corporate speak. I don't, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I get it. I understand that. Eras are the most efficient path for player progress. Relic 10 materials from eras, blah, 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 blah. Okay, awesome. Here is the deal. Most of this update is super cool. I woke up way early. You can see the beginning of this video, it was dark outside. It is light outside now. I woke up super early to do this video because I am pumped. There is so much to be excited about. Yes, you should be excited. I cannot stress enough how excited I am for 2026 in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Congratulations to CG for getting to 10 years. It is a monumental achievement. There is stuff for players in the end game. There is stuff for players in the mid game. There is stuff for players in the early game. There is stuff for spenders and for free-to-play players alike. However, I still want to stress, my time is valuable. Everybody who plays this game, their time is valuable. And you have not really given me any reason to believe my time spent in game is going to remain the same. Even if it is 15 more minutes that I am spending in this game, that is a ton more time, especially as a content creator, right? And I know that most players aren't content creators, but most games do need a content creator ecosystem to get players excited for things. This is just every 15 minutes more in game is like another hour of time spent for me. But that 15 minutes from most players is an important thing. I can only imagine that the majority of people playing this game, or at least from my guild, my Discord, my communities that I talk to, are fully gainfully employed adults, the majority of which have children, many of whom coach their children's soccer team or their Girl Scouts troop or the football team or hockey team or whatever else. Um, we don't have the time to spend more time in game. And the majority of times when I have to recruit new players are because players in my guild have quit. And it is so very rare that they quit because of a specific update. I know that some guilds are feeling that with Relic Delta, but I have not seen that. I have not seen people say, hey, I'm quitting because of Relic Delta. I have, however, seen a ton of people say, this game is just becoming too much for me time-wise, and I need to step away. I would like to see more management of my time in game modes where it is no longer feeling like content. This is where we talk about TB simming in the early days. This is where we talk about, a PvE centric Relic Delta, or even a Relic Delta buff in TB, so that your Relic Delta increases or amplifies the damage because of this buff. Just a buff that all characters get if their Relic Delta is above the Relic level of a battle. This way we don't have to screw with the raid as well. I don't want to have to spend an hour and a half on day 4 of TB when I also have to do Conquest, when I also have to do Raid, when I also have to do whatever era content is also coming to the game. Those days are exceedingly frustrating. And I am significantly concerned about my time management skills with the new update and the new system. Adding any amount of time to my day is frustrating. There are so many different things that we can take away. We already talked about the era marquee battles, right? Those era marquee battles. Let me sim them after the first one. There's no reason not to. Seriously, that's an extra 10 minutes in my day if I have supported a marquee. TB, we've already talked about it. Conquest, I don't have an answer for you. I can come up with an answer for you. I can find the answer for you. I know some people are going to say, just let me sim Conquest. I understand that that's not the answer. I've talked about it. Having the ability after you have red created Conquest, having some sort of weird semi-sim mechanic that gives you certain things but not other things. I don't know. I don't have that answer, but I am really concerned about that alone. Everything else sounds freaking awesome. Everything else sounds like you have understood the assignment, but it does not sound like you have understood the time management assignment. And I feel like that is going to be my era for 2026, is continuously talking about that. All of that is to say, players, be excited. I am around. Follow us on Discord. Talk with me whenever you want. I'm always here. I appreciate the love and support I've seen throughout 2025 and the people who have really helped me get where I am as we start to near the end of this year. CG, please, please, please listen to me. Please, I want you to make money. I want the corporation to be richer beyond your filthiest dreams. I understand that you have to monetize the game. I get it. Do not do it at the expense of my time. Hope you found this helpful. Peace out. Have a great rest of your day.